This is Jonathan Agger, Fifth Pro Boxing Fans, joined by Kalle Sauerland here. We're just, a few metres from York Hall, where you've got a show this Friday night, headlined by a crucial fight in the super flyweight division between Charlie Edwards and Seiko. I'm not going to try and pronounce the second name, but yeah, big fight on Friday.
Oh, folly. I'm learning it. I'll go with on folly at the moment, but by the end of the week, I'll be saying that fluent. It's great to be back at the York Hall. We were here a few weeks ago, obviously, for our fight week for Chisora Wilder. It was a wild week down at the York Hall, and now we're back at the York Hall for what the York Hall does best, and that's serve up a platform for some great boxing and some great names for the past, present and future to stake their claim. And let's start with the past. Former world champion Charlie Edwards in a do or die sort of situation, because he's got all the marbles on the line here for him, and Charlie's such a phenomenally talented boxer, and this is his time. He's wanted this for a long time. He's battled hard. He's got into this position, final eliminator, tough South African. We know how South Africans travel as well. He's in for a tough night, but at that weight, there's only tough fights really that get you to where you want to go. It's a horrible weight class for fighters. It's great for us to watch, but it is the tough fights. And I'd say the weather conditions are probably favouring the South African at the moment, but it's going to cool off towards the end of the week, and Charlie will get all the marbles Friday night live on DAZN.
Seiko's talking a good game up there at the press conference. He was saying, like, this is my time, your time is done. Do you feel like he's going to back up his talk on Friday?
Look, I'll be honest, I've seen 2-3 fights on tape. We all know Charlie. We know what he brings. We know we know he can fight totally different fights. Obviously he had the absolute stinker in Liverpool last year that everyone loves to still talk about, but he's been in very exciting fights as well. Charlie's a real boxer. He's a technical fighter. He knows the game in and out, him and his brother, and he'll fight the fight that he needs to fight to win on Friday night. Now, looking at the South African, I think we're in for an exciting fight, because he's front foot. I could just go on past experience of having had South Africans travel over in really tough fights and been on the losing end, and I think our record against South Africans over the last 20-something years is probably very close to being even, because when you get them over in these situations for a final eliminator, which is it's not a picked opponent. This has been picked for us by the IBF to face each other in a final eliminator. It's as simple as that, and it's going to be tough, but I believe in Charlie, or else we wouldn't have promoted Charlie at this stage of his career, and it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, the IBF champion Wilbardo Garcia, I believe, is fighting Maloney, but the winner of this fight fights the winner of that for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely the what we've been, that's what we've been sold by the IBF, been told and sold. So yeah, but we got to get through Friday first. Let's deal with that on Monday morning next week.
I want to just talk about another show you've got coming up in a couple of weeks. The small matter of Tommy Fury and Eddie Hall.
Before we go there, we have to give this show credit. We have to quickly go through the card, because there's 2 other fights I've got to mention, and some names. Tune in, because there are 3, if not 4, absolute 50-50s on the card. Osborne Cooper, winner, fights for a British title. So it's a big fight. Totally different stories. This is what gets me about that fight. Osborne obviously has that viral KO moment he's had coming into this, but it's come very much sort of the white collarish route, you know, into it, and then you've got Cooper, who's come the totally traditional path, and I'm fascinated by that one. And I love the format today. We got to read into that a little bit, into the background there as well, and see that firsthand, them facing off with each other, and the gloves are off. So I think that's really interesting. For me, the pick of the night of action, despite there being a world title shot at stake here, I think the Dan Tower Jack Corey fight is going to light up the York Hall. Light it up, because what's at stake on that, you know. Dan Tower is, you know, he's touted as one of the absolute talents of the future of the next generation of fighters in the UK. 10-time national champion as an amateur, and he faces, you know, Jack Corey, who has done it the harder way. He's done it on the road. So you sort of see these two worlds colliding, but at the end, it's such an important fight for either to win. You know, very, very exciting to see that. And the needle they had today here at the press days has only made it more exciting. Also, Tom Whelan returning Friday night. And Lucas Rohrig, got to mention Lucas Rohrig with George Groves in his corner. That's going to be a massive card. I think 8 fights. So, yeah, very, very excited. Now we can talk about what you want to talk about. We've got 4 shows in 4 weeks at MF Sports. MF Pro this week. Next week we go over to the Madness of Misfits in Germany. Germany Misfits next week. And then the week after that we are in Manchester with Misfits again, before going to LA. We're in LA the week after that with MF Pro. But you wanted to ask me a question about Manchester. It's on in 2 weeks, but you're very excited clearly to ask your question. What
do you expect to happen on fight week? We didn't see John Fury at the press conference. We've seen he made some comments about Eddie Hall when he sees him. I don't want to misquote him, but you know, they haven't seen each other since the fight got announced. What are you expecting on fight week?
I'm just impressed that you think that I know what John Fury is going to do in fight week. I think it will depend a bit on what Eddie Hall does in fight week, because if Eddie Hall says what he said at the first press conference, and I believe he will say that, then we're going to have a lot of security around John Fury, because it's going to be an interesting moment. Look, John wears his heart on his sleeve, and he'll say it the way it is, and it seems like Eddie Hall's pretty similar character like that. He just says it the way it is. He feels that he's been sort of shoo-shooed by John, and you know, he's a beast of a man. It doesn't seem like he's going to let John say that about him without saying something, and John certainly will have something to say about that. So yeah, I mean, the whole card, the whole man, it just sets up a massive night of Misfits, or a massive week of Misfits madness. You guys are going to be doing massive numbers, we're going to be doing massive numbers, and you know, it's going to capture the attention of a lot of people. You know, I've seen tickets have flown. I think we've sold out the tiers today, and you know, we're going to have a massive crowd in there in Manchester, and a huge worldwide audience on DAZN. It's entertainment, it's madness, it's craziness, but at the end of the day, we mustn't forget, it is a boxing fight under boxing rules. There's no MMA rules on this. It's Queensberry rules of boxing, and we shall see what happens when, you know, a traditional boxer, which Tommy Fury is, from probably the most famous boxing family in the world. Actually, no, definitely the most famous boxing family in the world, takes on the Beast. You know, and that's his own name. So it's. It just gets you thinking about things I used to think about when I was a kid, like, oh, who would win in that fight and that fight? Well, we're going to see, aren't we? You know, is it skill or is it brute force?
I want to ask you obviously about the fight on the weekend, Usyk and Verhoeven. Do you think it was an early stoppage?
Yeah, I think if you don't think it was an early stoppage, I think maybe you've had an early stoppage. So I think that, did he stop it early? Of course he stopped it early. The guy, 100%. Was it a case of he didn't hear the bell or another reasoning for it? And that's, I think props to Rico. He came out swinging and not just aimlessly swinging. He was on a different algorithm than a boxer is. And Peter Fury is a master trainer. He knew exactly what he was doing there. It's like he programmed him to disrupt the Usyk machine. I think Usyk wasn't prepared for the hardest night of boxing he's ever had. Similar to Fury and Garner, which surprises me a bit because Usyk's been round kickboxers coming out of an Eastern system. You're surrounded by all different, in the gyms there's all different, fight sports going on. You've got wrestling, a lot of wrestling in there. You've got a lot of kickboxing in there. The Klitschko's, Povetkin, they were kickboxing world champions before they became boxing world champions. So they've all got that sort of background. I would say he will be familiar with it, but I think what Peter Fury's done is reprogrammed it and totally thrown him off. Now that's the negative on Usyk. Yeah, when you see though that he works it out and he gets to work, he's impressive, isn't he? He's impressive. I still believe, I know that everyone says I was going to get stopped anyways in the 12th. He gets up, he's still taking shots, he's firing back, and he's gone to the court, he's stopped the fight, but he's got to give him the chance to go to the court, have that minute, let him stand up, let him walk towards him, assess the gloves, assess what's going on, the classic, checking the fighter, checking the gloves before the round, seeing if there's pressure there, how's he standing, how's his eyes. That's another 1 minute, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. I'm nitpicking a bit here, but you've got to give him a chance because he's fought his way to that position. And by the way, you've got to give Usyk that chance to go and turn what would be a fantastic sort of turnaround comeback with, he takes him out to 12. There's not too many questions going to be asked. Yeah? The rematch now is a hot fight. People want to see the rematch. He knocks him out in the 12th round. Still argue for a rematch somewhere down the line, but the immediate call for it is very different. So you sort of, it reminds me a bit of the Carl Froch George Rose situation at the time, yeah? The rematch was bigger than the first fight,
Yeah, and Peter Fury did say that he spoke to the referee at the airport and he said that he didn't hear the bell and he felt that, his job was to stop the fight because he felt like he was taking too much punishment.
Yeah, and that would probably make sense given what I've just said. Is it something that needs to be addressed in the sport? We've got VAR in football, not a fan, but it's here to stay. I don't want to see it used in boxing the same way as it is in football, disrupting it, but when a fight's stopped, surely to give a few seconds to check whether a bell has gone, which by the way, we don't need VAR for this, it's common sense. Someone, the supervisor, walks up to him and says, look pal, you stopped the fight early, you got to let it go, right? At that point, if that's done quickly, there's no reason why they can't go back to go back and say, right, well, the 12th's going ahead. No one would have complained about that.
Well, Kalle, I'm going to leave it there. Don't miss it Friday night. Charlie Edwards in a crucial fight at York Hall live on DAZN.
Not York Hall, we've renamed it this Friday, live on DAZN. It's the Brawl Hall.
There you go, Kalle, appreciate it.